When most people think about War of the Worlds, they're either thinking about the H.G. Wells classic novel, the 1953 adaptation of that novel, The War of the Worlds, or they're thinking about Tom Cruise's adaptation, directed by Spielberg, from 2005. They might even be thinking about there was an adaptation, a TV adaptation of War of the Worlds that was on, I think, Epic channel, Epix. I think it was called Epix channel a few years ago with Gabriel Byrne. When I think of War of the Worlds, the first thing I think of is the 1988 to 1990 syndicated TV series. So our heroes in the show are a quartet of, I believe, civilians and military personnel, and led by a guy named Harrison Blackwood, played by Jared Martin. The rest of the cast was Linda Mason Green, Philip Aiken, and Richard Chavez. At the end of the 1953 film, the aliens appear to have died due to being exposed to the Earth's bacteria. In the TV show, however, the aliens didn't die. The aliens, they went ahead and went into a state of dormancy, like some kind of comatose state. And the aliens' bodies were put inside these drums, and for some reason I can't remember, but some of the aliens, they revived, like 3 of them or something, and these aliens managed to, get loose, and these aliens have the ability to go ahead and take over the bodies of human beings. The aliens' plan is to go ahead and multiply and take out as many humans as possible while building an army big enough to go ahead and take over the Earth once and for all. A quartet sponsored by the government to go ahead and take down the aliens. The 4 of them would travel all over the United States and beyond to track down these aliens and take them out for good. Sometimes they would win in battling the aliens. Other times they would lose. And as a kid, seeing a show where the good guys would often lose as much as they would win definitely knocked me for a loop. Like, when I was younger, I didn't really like watching things where the good guys would lose. Just bleak, dark stuff just didn't fully sit right with me at that time. So it was definitely something different. You never knew what you're going to get every week in terms of, the good guys winning or not. And, it kept things really tense, and it kept the stakes pretty high, because some of the losses they would have would be quite devastating. War of the Worlds was not only just harsh to the heroes at times, but also was harsh to everyone else as well. The supporting characters, the minor characters, the things that they would endure, like the messed up fates that would ultimately befall them, but also the violence. Like, the violence in that show was pretty intense, pretty gory. At least gory for television at that time. Like, I never seen anything like that in terms of just violence. This was like the type of violence you would be seeing like in an R-rated film. Certainly not on television, particularly broadcast syndicated television. Like that type of violence was just never seen. The only thing you would see that would be close to that was like Friday the 13th series. I mean, it could get pretty bloody on that series at times, but War of the Worlds took it to like the next level. I remember reading something about War of the Worlds, the TV show, years later, about how there was complaints by parents about how intensely violent the show was, and that was like part of the reason, supposedly, that the violence was turned down in the second season. I don't know if that was really true or not, but I don't exactly have a hard time believing that. But when I say it was violent, I mean, even by today's standards, it's still very violent. I don't think there was any episodes of the first season I didn't like. There was definitely some episodes that were stronger than others, but I enjoyed every single episode of the first season. In fact, the first season of War of the Worlds is one of my favorite first seasons to a television show, period. Some of my favorite episodes was, of course, like the premiere episode. Other ones was like, I wish I remembered them better by name. There was this one episode where Blackwood and his crew went to this town that was totally taken over by aliens. There was an episode that tied into the Waterworld's broadcast that was done in the 1930s by Orson Welles. That was pretty cool. There was another episode where the aliens, they created this drug that they went ahead and they dispersed, and those who took the drugs turned into these psychotic, raging murder machines. There was another one, definitely like really one of the best ones. It's a really messed up episode, but very memorable one, which the aliens, they took over this pregnant woman, and most of the episode was from the perspective of the alien, but the alien like somehow still kind of had like the woman, like she was taking over, but like I guess her memories were like infused with the aliens' memories, because usually once the aliens take over, like the aliens, that's it, like human is gone, whoever the human was totally erased. But somehow like the memories, they merged as one, the alien and the pregnant woman, and the alien was like dealing with the whole pregnancy, and the alien, you know, the host taking over, well, the alien taking over, like it did something to the baby, like it mutated the baby in a certain way, and it's just a really messed up, horrifying, brutal episode. Another one of my favorite episodes was the season finale of the first season, in which an alien from another planet, like a different species of aliens, came to Earth and met up with Iron Horse. And, you know, she was like, hey, I want to help you go ahead and take out this species of aliens that's trying to destroy your people. And that had a really interesting ending, which I would have loved to have seen. Like, it clearly was setting up something for season 2. This particular ending with this different species of aliens. But of course, none of that ever came to be, because season 2 was like a major revamping, you know, overhaul of everything that happened in season 1. Show was like vastly different in the second season than it was the first. That was the first time ever seen like a major overhaul in any type of media. The show just resembled nothing like its former self. So one of the major things they did was get rid of about half of the main cast. So my favorite character in the show was Colonel Iron Horse, played by Richard Chavez, who played Poncho in Predator, and he played the most popular character in the show. And I just found it really shocking that the most popular character in the show, my personal favorite character in the show, was unceremoniously killed off in the first episode of the second season. The other main character to be killed off the series was Norton, played by Philip Aiken, who also has done a number of voices over the years, and he played voiced Bishop in X-Men the anime series, the 90s version. Yeah, he was unceremoniously killed off as well. And the thing was, like, Richard Chavez played, his character was of Native American descent. You rarely ever saw Native American characters in media, and when you usually did, particularly around that time, they were usually stereotypes. He was definitely not a stereotype. He was a fully fleshed out character and was just awesome in every way. Philip Aiken's Norton, he was paraplegic. You rarely ever saw any disabled characters in media back then. You rarely even see them now. He was like the team's genius. He was also fully fleshed out, and they both were killed off at the beginning of the second season. Now, I'm not gonna go as far as to say that there was anything prejudicial in terms of them being removed, but it is a terrible look where the Native American character and the paraplegic character, who also happened to be black, were just unceremoniously dumped from the show, and they were replaced by a white character played by Adrian Paul. And I actually did like his character on the show, but like you could have added him and not get rid of the other two, particularly when they were popular characters, especially Richard Chavez. The only remaining characters from the first season was Harrison Blackwood and Suzanne. And Suzanne had a daughter in the show in the first season, and you know, she survived to see the second season. The show, which was already pretty dark in its first season, just plummeted to another level of darkness in the second season. And normally I would find that to be a good thing, at least now. I mean, as a kid, like, I didn't like dark stuff, like stuff that was too dark, like stuff to the point that was like bleak, like ultra bleak and hopeless. That really turned me off as a kid. It just became dry and listless. Like, it just, I don't know, like, again, like the good guys would lose a lot in the first season, but again, they would have their share of victories. And in the second season, it was like it seemed like they always lost. Like, what is the point of watching a show or getting engaged with any story where the good guys are constantly losing and it doesn't feel like there's any type of point? Like, maybe if it was an exercise in nihilism, then yeah, it would make sense if the good guys always lost, but I don't think the show was that deep. And it just became like whatever fun the show had in the first season was gone in the second, and it just became a chore to watch. It seemed to have the life of it totally sucked out of it. It became this, I don't want to say boring, but just really dour slog. The only improvement I can say that happened in the second season was the theme song. I really love the theme song of the first season, but the theme song in the second season to me was like on another level. I really love the music in the theme song. I love how intense it is, and the logo that they have in the second season is like it's fantastic. One of my favorite all-time TV intros like ever. If you're a fan of late 80s sci-fi and horror, particularly if you love both sci-fi and horror, or if you're, let's say, a fan of X-Files, particularly like early X-Files, I'm not going to say that X-Files was inspired by this show, but you can definitely see some similarities in terms of its tone. You could definitely see similarities in terms of like its grotesqueness. Definitely see some similarities in terms of how grotesque things can be in terms of violence and other stuff. War of the Worlds, the TV series, is definitely my favorite adaptation of all the adaptations of H.G. Wells' novel. There has been nothing quite like it before or since, and I mean that in the best way possible. And if you can see it, watch it.